let's talk about Proptech Landscape, right? In India, we have seen Proptech from way back also, where 2016, 15, there were few companies like Housing was there, then later Makaan and Magic Bricks and everything was there. How would you say, from that time till now, how do you see the Proptech landscape has evolved? And are we there in terms of when it comes to mature tech, in terms of the companies that are coming in and trying to cater to the need gap that is there in the real estate front?
I'd say that there are obviously multiple different subsections of PropTech.
Yeah.
There's, to start off, there's construction tech, which from what I hear, I'm not too closely involved, but there's a lot of action happening over there in terms of, enhancing kind of how the speed of construction and the quality of construction using technology. There are the Housing and Makaans of the world that you mentioned that are basically aggregator platforms where people can see the properties and buy properties.
Yeah.
There are no brokers and square yards of the world that are doing very, very well. And, these platforms have tremendous user engagement if someone wants to buy an apartment. And then there are players like us, where the whole streamlining of investment into real estate. And sorry, the other segment that I missed out, which is, I think, one of my favorite segments after obviously I have my own segment, is the IoT segment, which is a little bit more hardware. And, I was amazed the other day, it's impacting my daily life as well in a very, very positive way. I mean, for instance, went to the mall the other day to Phoenix Mills, and there's no ticketing anymore. It just takes a photo of your car when you're exiting. Depending on how long you stayed, they charge. And I think that's these kind of innovations in IoT are significantly enhancing the building experience, right? I mean, any office building you go to, I'm sure you experience, even at the check-in.
Yeah, there's a complete touchless.
Yeah, complete touchless. They take a photo, OTP sent to your phone.
Yeah.
So that's enhancing security measures. I know that there's technology happening that depending on, and I think certain buildings are implementing it, that depending on where you are, the cameras measure the density, as well as thermometers mention the density and accordingly modulate the temperature.
Yeah.
And HVAC consumption, twofold, right? One, it's a big electricity consumption.
Yeah.
So that's reduced. So it's increasing the bottom line for the developer or the society. And also, I mean, overall helping global warming. Because, so lots happening on that front. To talk about, in our space, what we do, one is investments are completely streamlined. We have investors that come from 30% of our investors are NRIs.
Yeah.
They are investing from sitting there, right? And the way they're investing, it's completely streamlined. So you see your photos, your video walkthrough, we're working on, virtual reality tours of these properties. All details available, click of a button. We have rental calculators to show how much you'll make. Any decision that historically was, any information that historically, say, a Blackstone would use to decide to invest is now just easily available to any investor. So that's there. Then once someone decides to invest, completely seamless, right? Your digital signatures, your payments, documents can be signed completely online.
Yeah.
Then you can track your real estate portfolio on the dashboard the way you track your stock portfolio on a Zerodha. And we have constant updates, valuation reports. And then you can exit your share. So there's a secondary platform where you can exit your share on the platform at any point in time that you want. So that's kind of even as of today, that's what we're doing. And we have a lot more planned. So, for instance, we're working on creating a map of each and every transaction that's happened, and just showing that to people on our dashboard. Because information is key.
Yeah.
More information you have, more confidence you have.
True.
And the more trust you build in investing. So having a map, each and every transaction in a very user-friendly way. So that's in the works. Other is on the acquisition side. each and every acquisition, there's so much data that we go through.
Yeah.
So we're trying to add algorithms to the place to predict in which way prices are going to move. And we have all the data we need, right? We work with our data partner, CRE Matrix. So in that building, in other units, the neighboring buildings, what is the per square feet rate of every transaction, when it happened. If it's a rental, the per square feet rental. If it's a sale, the per square feet sale. When it happened, you have access to all the agreements. So then what is the right price to pay? Also through government websites, and I think it's credit to the government for that. They've been very transparent.
Yeah.
Through government website, you can track for any construction, you can track where the file is on the approval stage. Is CC received? Is IOD received? Is OC received?
Yeah.
What is planned? So you know what new supply is also going to come up.
True.
So supply, demand. So you can predict the price. That's what we're working on the back end. And this is the third thing, which is we can't do it on our own. Requires a lot of government support. And I know Telangana government, I was reading last month or 2-3 weeks ago, they have a framework for blockchain.
Yeah.
And if land records are put on the blockchain, that will greatly ease transactions happening, give a lot of comfort, trust, because then there's a single source of truth.
Yeah.
And I think that's still a couple of years away. And that requires a lot of stakeholders to come together, industry participants, the government. And I think this is also a state by state subject.
Yeah.
But I'm sure as soon as one state implements it, then all the governments will start implementing it. So I think lots happening in PropTech right now.
So you would say that overall the PropTech landscape in India is going in the right direction. It's maturing in a good manner when it comes to tech integration, when it comes to providing good solutions.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that the beauty of PropTech compared to other techs, right, is there's still a hard real component to it.
Yeah.
And so compared to a few other techs where the industry has gone like this and then like this, I don't see that happening in our industry because sure, PropTech has always kind of lagged behind just because there's a hard asset, there's something hard involved, there's a lot of regulatory oversight involved. I think that's a good thing because then whatever tech comes, it comes for the better and not just for the hype.
True.
So I think it's slow and steady, and we're kind of at that inflection point where lots has happened in the last few years. So you're going to see a lot of changes in the industry.
So in comparison to EdTech or FinTech and their e-commerce and everything,
right?
There are a lot of unicorns there, right? So would you say having less, because we have like hardly few unicorns when it comes to PropTech? So you would say still a good picture because it doesn't matter if there are not a lot of unicorns in the PropTech because as you
sustainable unicorns.
Yeah. So as you would say that their services or their products are for the long term, and of course it's there for people to feel and everything. Right. So would you say having less unicorn in PropTech is also a good way to look at it?
Everyone wants more unicorns, but you want unicorns who stay unicorns.
True.
And maybe we should start measuring instead of valuation by profit.
That's good. Yeah. So I want to understand now about PropTech in terms of investment, right? So when you started your journey, I'm sure you were bootstrapped, and last year you raised fund. What would you say? How is the investor sentiment when it comes to investing in PropTech? Because we have seen unfortunate scene where there have been a write-off recently, right? So do you feel such incidents also, make the investor feel shy because they already are not aware or they don't understand the real estate when it comes to technology, right? Because when it's real estate, a lot of people have skepticism about the product or about the whole market itself.
Right.
So what would you say? How's the investor sentiment as you have recently raised funds?
Yeah. So I will say that when a write-off happens, investors do get they take that step back, they do get wary.
Yeah.
And so it's definitely up to the stakeholders in the industry to make sure that doesn't happen, right? It's up to the good actors to make sure that doesn't happen and do things in an ethical, right way, in a sustainable way. having said that, investor sentiment is very, very positive. We raised our round from a bunch of angel investors who are, industry stalwarts in their own field.
Yeah.
So all of them are very, very bullish on PropTech. And I think what's happened is, as I think post-COVID, prop in itself as an industry has gone up. Resi has done very well.
Yeah.
Commercial has been through the worst of times it can ever be through, right? And yet it is where it's at today, because in India you can't work from home. So the prop in itself is so positive that tech just becomes an enabler.
True.
Yeah.
So let's make our viewers also aware, because last year you raised fund. How the conversation actually go when it comes to investors? Do you need to make them understand, like you are in the fractional fund and then you later announced AIF? I'm sure you must be sharing these, of course, these milestones with them also. Are they able to understand this whole dynamic of real estate, or do you have to make them understand why it is going to be having good returns? And first of all, where do you see this in down the line, be 5 years or 6 years?
Yeah, so see, we've raised from a bunch of angel investors. Yeah. So some of them, right, and we made it in a we thought through the kind of investors we wanted. So one, we have to get good distribution. So we got Nirmal Jain, who's the founder of IFL, Ambit Family Office, Incred.
Yeah.
They obviously understand. We got a lot of the real estate people to invest. So heads of few of the IPCs, they've invested, few developers invested. Then we have some tech founders. So Akrit, who's the founder of Haptic, he's invested. So we try to get people from across the board in the ecosystem. In terms of real estate, obviously, finance people, real estate people know the numbers very well. Not like the others don't know the numbers, they're just not exposed to the industry as much. Yeah. Once you have a conversation, show them the market size, show them how that works, they're pretty convinced. Then the question becomes, can you execute on it? And that's where the management team, etc. comes into place.
And why did you feel as hBits that you guys had to raise funds? Was there any kind of strategy or a kind of milestone that you felt that you want to achieve and it can help only during this funds?
Well, that's a great question. So, and we'll be entering the market to raise our next round shortly. But we hope that the next round, and not hope, I think that's our plan, that the next round will be our last round. And after that, we'll be profitable. We want to be profitable by March 24. That's our goal. I think the reason to raise was obviously to just build the team. But once we reach a certain AUM number, we'll be profitable, and then we won't need to raise again. So that's kind of our plan on the fundraising side. But we built in a very systematic, profitable way. At a unit economic level, we're already profitable. So now we just need to reach a certain scale to cover our fixed costs.
Okay. So let's talk about tech. hBits, I want to understand, we have spoken about data. In what other manner you are integrating tech when it comes to having seamless operation, or when it comes to having the data security of your investors? So what all tech is into hBits?
Yeah, so I'll give a few examples, right? One is, for instance, now you have, and this is not a buzzword, I know it is a buzzword, but I don't mean it in a buzzword, you have ChatGPT, right? So now we're training a bot to be able to answer all our majority of our customer queries on the platform itself. It's still in the works, but we're going to implement that. So what that does is that it answers a lot of customer queries immediately without having to talk to a relationship manager. That's one example. Other example is, obviously we have to take the KYC of the customers because they're investing. We're implementing a system where you can just enter your PAN number and then we'll pull and verify the KYC given the government repositories. So that's another one. Other thing we're doing is more on the back end, which the customer doesn't see. But based on how the customer interacts with the website, we're able to get a profile of the customer and then appropriately, educate the customer or give him the correct information. So those are a few of the things that technology is helping us with.
So when it comes to data, there have been a lot of companies where data leakages are happening, right? So it's become a huge concern, not just for the customers, but even for the companies. So how do you make sure the data of your customers are intact?
I think that's just by good practices and having the right people on board and following the right protocols. So, I mean, getting a little technical, but really getting to the minute, we make sure that all our APIs are protected.
Yeah.
We work with external agencies to do VAPT testing, make sure the securities are there, all the firewalls are in place.
Yeah.
And having the right people to implement these systems and prioritizing and focusing on that. Again, and it comes down to the same philosophy, right? We prioritize these things over just growing and building new features.
True.
See, security is something that customers don't see until it goes wrong.
Yeah.
So a lot of companies choose that we'll keep building new features. This, theek hai. But we don't want to do that. We don't want that situation ever to even arise. We're GDPR compliant.
Yeah.
So all these things are in place.
So as you mentioned, ChatGPT, now everyone is integrating that in some way or the other when it comes to real estate market also. There'll be more tools coming in when we are talking about machine learning, AI. So when it comes to hBits, such new technology, how you make sure that you are first of all evolving with the technology and your strategies or your technologies is in par with whatever tools are coming in the market.
So I'll give one answer and I'll give the cheeky answer. One answer, obviously, we have an amazing team in place. We have a great tech vendor and tech team in place, and they're always abreast of information. And I have my brother who's working at BCG Gamma in the data science arm in New York. So me and him are always sharing notes. He's always sharing ideas. Also in touch with a lot of my Stanford professors. So, and friends over there who are in computer science, who work at Facebook, who work at Apple. So we also share a lot of information. And then that's where a lot of knowledge of what's happening, and then we have to implement it over here. Once we get that information, the tech team is so capable that they just implement it. It's more about the ideas, and ideas come from everywhere. It's being involved in the market. Implementation obviously is done by our team.